Now we'll be talking about Enlargers 7 and 8, which are both Beseler enlargers, and everything is different on these. There isn't a turret, so on this shelf down here are all different focal length lenses and a stack of negative carriers for different formats. This would be the negative carrier that you'd use with the Holga negatives, that's square. And then you'd want to use an 80mm lens, but you actually have to look on it and be able to read that this is an 80mm. The procedure for changing the lens is to push forward on it and then down on the part that's towards you, and then it kind of snaps out. So this is the 50mm lens, that's for 35mm, and I retrieved the 80, and that's something I put on here by pushing it in to the slot and then snapping it into place like so. Okay, I have my negative centered in the negative carrier. To open that up, you come over to this side, and there's a lever right here that releases it. This would be a 35mm carrier. We're going to put in this one, and then lift the lever up to lock that in place. I have both this enlarger and the timer hooked up to a power bar, which you can turn on here, and then everything will come on. So if you use that for the on-off switch, when you shut it off again, the next person just has to turn the power bar on. One of the reasons that that's important is to just get this enlarger head up or down. You actually have to use this toggle switch. Push it down to go down, and up to go up. It's kind of fun. Besides the motorized feature, this enlarger also has a remote focus, which is handy if you're extremely nearsighted like I am. It allows you to focus with your head very close to the baseboard. If you don't want to use the remote focus, there's a normal focus over here. Again, it's an 80mm lens, so we'll probably want this out about 4 inches to achieve focus. This Gray Lab timer is very much like the one on the Super Chromegas. There's one dial here for changing this will go from 3 to 4. When you add an 1 here, it changes it. Should change it to 13. There it is. Now it's on 13. You just hit this bar to expose. You have to push this little button on the bottom right to turn the enlarger light on to focus. Your contrast is adjusted on dials right on the head here. The magenta goes from 0 to 200. It may give you just a hair more contrast on the high end than the Chromega enlargers. Usually with a Holga negative, you're somewhere around 100 magenta to get the increased contrast that you need because of the low contrast lens. If you actually have a very contrasty negative, which is rare, but you'd actually add yellow filtration to lower the contrast. To turn on the number 7 enlarger, all you have to do is turn on the timer, and the enlarger head is powered via the timer. This enlarger has the peculiarity that you actually have to turn the light on by hitting the focus knob to be able to raise it up and down, and it raises up and down with the same toggle switch as the other Beseler enlarger. Focus is the same. There's no remote focus on this one. Changing the lenses is the same. It uses the same negative carriers, and you just dial in your contrast by, to start out you're usually just adding magenta.